Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. For those of you that don't know, my name is Gianna and this is the McDonald Chronicles. We are going to talk today all about my 2024 reading goals and 24 books I want to read in 2024. All right, so let's get to it. First, let's start with my reading goals for this year. So my big reading goal is to read 50 books. Last year I read 55, so 50 seems pretty manageable. My goal for last year, I think, was honestly only to read 20, and I super surpassed that. I didn't want to set myself up for failure this year, trying to read way more than 50, and I also just didn't want to be reading books to read books, if that makes sense. So I think 50 is a good number where I'll probably need it. I feel like I might surpass it, but I won't just be picking up random books to read just because I'm trying to hit a number. So 50 is the goal I want to hit this year. I think we'll be pretty good with that. Next goal is to read at least 2 classics. One of them, for certain, being Pride and Prejudice. So I actually own Pride and Prejudice. It's one of my favorite books, and I started rereading it again last year, and that's how far I got. I don't know why. I do enjoy it. It takes a little longer to read than just a regular book written today, but I really do enjoy the story, so I want to make sure that I read this next year, absolutely. And then one other. I don't know what that will be yet, but I'll decide at some point. Next, I want to make sure that I read at least 4 nonfiction books. Sometimes this is a really easy goal and sometimes it's not. There have been years where I've read like 12 nonfiction books, and then there are years when I've read none. So for sure, I'm actually in the middle of one right now, which you'll hear about in the January wrap-ups. Make sure you stick around for that. And it's really, really good. I find that listening to nonfiction books on audio makes it a lot easier to get to them, especially if it's a lot of information. So definitely going to read at least 4. Don't know what those will be. They might be like productivity books, they might be parenting books, they might just be biographies, anything. So any 4 nonfiction, that's one of my goals. Then I want to make sure that I reread the Harry Potter series. So I love Harry Potter. I have reread the series. I reread the entire series at least twice through, the whole thing through. And I reread the first book so many times that my book binding is actually broken. Like when you go to open the book, it completely falls apart because it's been read so many times. And I mean, I've had it for basically 20 years at this point. So this year I want it to be the year where I reread the entire Harry Potter series. It's just nostalgic, and I've seen the movies a bunch of times, but I know obviously there are some things in the books that don't make it into the movies, so I just want to reread them, and this is going to be the year that I do it. And my last reading goal for this year is to read more global authors, and really what I mean by this is to pay more attention to who I'm reading and who I'm not reading. So it can be really easy to fall into the trap of like always reading the same type of author from the same background. And it's not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just that I'm missing out on a lot of different perspectives. So I want to make sure that I'm making a point to read some authors that maybe I haven't read before and come from different backgrounds of the authors that I usually read, just to get a lot of different perspectives, because different perspectives make for great writing. So I think that's really important. All right, so that's it. Those are some pretty easy reading goals for 2024. So make sure you follow along so we can see how we're hitting those. Next, we're going to go through 24 books that I want to read in 2024. Pretty catchy, and I know you've seen a bunch of other people doing this, and I thought it would be fun to follow along. I'm just going to go through these rapid fire, so you'll see the books pop up here because I don't have all the copies of these books. Give you a quick 1 to 2 sentences, why I want to read it, why it's on my radar. This is not saying that I'm for certain going to read these 24 books, but these are the ones that if I'm like, what should I read next? I want to hit these first. We'll go through them. Maybe you'll get some ideas for what you might want to read this year, and let's do it. All right, the first one is The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I have heard so many good things about this one. It's got magical realism, it's got romance. I think it takes place in New York, so sounds amazing. Definitely want to make sure I read this one this year. All right, then we have Hello Stranger by Catherine Center. Read The Bodyguard, loved it. Want to see if I love Hello Stranger just as much. Either way, I think it's going to be a great read, so definitely on my radar. Already have that one. Next is The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. I'm going to make this the year that I get into the Cosmere. I have heard about Brandon Sanderson from a bunch of different people. Like, not just one person, not just people who like reading, not just people who are into fantasy books. Like, everyone talks about Brandon Sanderson. So I want this to be the year. I put The Way of Kings on my 24 and 24 list, but I'm actually going to start with Mistborn. I saw a YouTube video, which I will link below, where he talks about the order that you're kind of supposed to go through the Cosmere just to pick up on all the little nuggets. I don't think it really matters, honestly. I think if you go through the publishing order, it's fine, but that's the order I'm going to follow. So I'm going to start with Mistborn, but I want to get to the Way of Kings part in it this year as well. Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. I've seen this one in a few places. The cover is honestly really cute. I read the summary and I think I'm going to be able to relate to the main character a lot, so totally here for it. Definitely want to read it, and I know a second one just came out. If it hasn't come out yet, it's coming out really soon, so I think it'll be cool to read the first one and then pick up the second one as well. Next is Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. At this point, I'm like one of 10 people who hasn't read the Throne of Glass series. I read ACOTAR, I loved it, so I just need to change that this year. I'm going to try and read Throne of Glass. Maybe I'll be able to get through the whole series. We'll see what happens. Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. Same reasons as Throne of Glass. Everyone's read it. I need to see what's going on there. The Only One Left by Riley Sager. I read Final Girls by Riley Sager years ago, and it is literally one of my all-time favorite books. I don't know why I haven't read more Riley Sager. I put The Only One Left on there because I think that's his most recent one, but honestly, any Riley Sager book will do for the 24 and 24 this year. I definitely want to make sure I pick some of those up. Then we have Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. Spoiler alert, I put this on my list at the beginning of the year and I finished it yesterday. So I'm going to change Divine Rivals to Ruthless Vows because I know that just came out, and I definitely, after reading Divine Rivals, want to pick up Ruthless Vows, and you'll hear more about Divine Rivals in my January wrap-up video. So make sure you're subscribed for that. The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. Honestly, I think the cover of this one is cool. It's a murder mystery vibe, so definitely want to check that one out. Next, we have Shadows in Time by Julia McElwain, I think is how you say it. I feel like I've been reading the series for years and years and years and years and years, and there's only 5 books. But it's basically historical fiction. She goes back in time. She's an FBI agent solving murders in the 1800s when women aren't supposed to be solving murders. Super, super cool. The 5th book, I think, came out either last year or the year before, and I still haven't read it yet, so definitely want to make sure I read it this year. Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. I've seen this in a lot of places, and I hear a lot of good things about Lynn Painter, so definitely want to pick this one up. I think it'll be a cute, fun romance. All right, what's next? Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry by Joya Goffney. I actually saw this on Sunny Kim's YouTube channel. It sounds really cute. I love the cover. I love lists, which is something that the main character apparently writes a lot about, so I definitely want to pick this one up. Next, we have Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. I'm sure you've heard of this series. I feel like people either love this or hate this series, so I definitely want to know where I stand. Want to pick up the first book for sure. Next, we have Beach Read by Emily Henry. Read Book Lovers, loved it. Want to know if it was a one-time thing or if I'm an Emily Henry girl like basically everyone else on YouTube. Next, we have Everyone on This Train is a Suspect by Benjamin Stevenson. I read Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone, or Everyone in My Family Has Murdered Someone, I think it is, by him. It was really good, and I didn't see the end coming at all. So this is, I don't think it's a series. I think it's a standalone. I'm really not sure. But anyway, he wrote it. It kind of has the same whodunit vibe, so I definitely want to pick this one up this year. The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. This one just sounds cool. Honestly, the cover's cool, summary's cool, so want to pick this one up for sure. Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I actually bought this one the other day from Barnes & Noble, so now I own it. I've heard cool things about it. It's fantasy. I think I'll like it. Then we have 2, Iron Gold and Dark Ages. These are actually the next 2 books in the Red Rising series. So I talked about the Red Rising trilogy in my best reads of 2023, and these are 2 more books in that series. There's a 6th book, but I'm not going to put that on my list, set myself up for failure. But I'm not sure if I'll get to both of these, but I for sure at least want to read Iron Gold this year because I really did like the Red Rising series, and I want to see how Pierce Brown continues the trilogy after what happened in Morning Star. Pride and Prejudice, like I said, one of the classics that I want to read this year. All right, we're almost there, last 4. So next we have Bringing Up Baby, or I guess Bringing Up Bébé. It is a book on parenting written from an American mother's perspective living in France. I read it before my daughter was born, and I just want to read it again. I really liked it, and I liked a lot of the principles in it. I remember it being kind of a funny, cool read, and so I just want to pick it up again, reread it. I'll probably get the audio version of this one. I think that'll be a good one to listen to on audio, and bonus points, it will count towards one of my nonfictions for my reading goals. Then Anything by Lisa Jewell. Honestly, I want to read. She keeps coming up when I'm looking at like thriller authors, so I think she'll be a cool one to check out. Then we have The Paris Library. This has been in my Kindle library for an embarrassingly long time. So historical fiction, librarians, say less. I think I'm gonna love it. So definitely wanna make sure I read it this year. And then the last book, the 24th book that I wanna read in 2024 is Wayward. I put this one on my TBR basically as soon as it came out. I think it's won a bunch of Goodreads Choice Awards. I know it's gonna be amazing. It's labeled as historical fantasy fiction. It has multiple timelines, so everything that I love about books, it's got. So definitely think I'm gonna love it. I wanna make sure I read this one this year. All right, so there you have it. Those are my reading goals for 2024, as well as 24 books I wanna read in 2024. I hope y'all got some good ideas of some books that you might wanna pick up this year. And if you've read any of those books, please let me know in the comments so I know which ones I should pick first. All right, well, thanks for hanging out with me today. I will see you next time. Cheers.